Good morning. At this time, I would like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70 to amend Procedural Bylaw 2018-117 pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The mayor is having technical difficulties signing in, and in the interim, I will call the meeting to order at 10:05 a.m. As per Bylaw 2018-119, Councillor Ernie Poplinski is the appointed member of council, authorized to act in the place of the head of council in the absence of the mayor, with authority under Section 18.3.2 of the procedural bylaw to chair this regular council meeting. Councillor Poplinski.
Note to the public that submissions received from the public, either orally or in writing, may become part of the public record package. Meetings will be recorded and will be available to be listened to on the township website, www.madawaskavalley.ca, on the minutes page. Please mute all electronic devices during the meeting. We'll have a call to order, and we have adoption of the agenda as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder? I have Councillor Wilmer and Councillor Schulist. All in favor? Motion is granted. We have number 3, any disclosure of any pecuniary interest?
None.
Not seeing any. We have number 4, delegations and committees. We have with us today Mr. Jeff Dean from CGIS Mapping, along with Ashley Pilgrim and Kaylee Czar. And I'd like to, I believe they're in the waiting room right now. So if we could turn the meeting over to Jeff.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to try and share my screen here. Share screen. All right, does everyone see a login screen?
Yes.
Coming up. There we go.
All right, excellent. Okay, just a brief introduction before we get into some show and tell. Again, we've been, my name's Jeff Dean. I'm a partner of client relations with CGIS. We've been helping municipalities, about 130 municipalities now for the last 22 years. And we've been working again with Ontario Clean Water Agency, with Ashley, and your team of looking at how to improve communication and again, basically data management. And what we thought we'd do today in our delegation here would show you what we've done thus far, and also show you, talking with staff, of ideas of other system and services we can provide. And everyone can hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent.
No problem.
Okay, so then what we're going to do here is just log in, and this is an online service that both, again, staff at Ontario Clean Water as well as your staff would be able to use. So everyone should see a map now. Does everyone see the map?
Yes.
Excellent. So again, we've just basically set up the base system at this point. Where you're starting with right now is you had paper maps that your team sent to us for water and sewer. And what we've been able to do is integrate that into our system. So we're able to bring in the water mains, fire hydrants. We were able to put that on top of roads and water so that you can see where those are, as opposed to having paper maps in people's heads. So that, again, remote access these days with COVID, whether it be wherever Ashley and their team are, and your team, where they're working from home or in the office or in the field, can access where are the water mains, what are the size of the water mains. And we have it set up that they can also click on this and then edit, saying, oh, I know what the material, the date of installation, the size. So right now, we've been able to put on the size and the locations, and then we could then work with the team to continue to add other attributes for, again, asset management, for find it and fix it, all those sorts of purposes, as we're doing with all the other municipalities we're working with. But this is sort of the starting point that we've done thus far. The other aspect is we've also done the same with the paper maps from the sanitary system of where manholes and sanitary mains go. And so that is now on there. We've also integrated in the data from the finance department for water meters. So with that, staff could also go on here, search by an address as an example. All those yellow dots you see on the map are the water meters. And if we do this, you can search through the database and find if there's any water meters at 123. In this case, there is. So then you can double click, go find where that location is, and then go and look at the information about what did we do? What information do we know? And as you can see, it's pretty extensive. There are thousands of water meter records that your team had in spreadsheets, and we're able to integrate that into the GIS system. So that's sort of, again, the first things we were asked to do. Now, the other things that we can then do is if I log out of Madawaska Valley, I can go into another community that we're working with that your team is interested in using this sort of system. So Timmins is one of our municipalities. Again, they're a larger municipality, but again, those larger municipalities, just have more volume, do these things, and then you look at it going, we do the exact same things, just on a smaller scale. So in this case, we'd also bring in the parcel fabric and be able to integrate with your Municipal Connect assessment data, as well as your VATM taxation data. And so that you get to see, again, property information, ownership information on each property. They've also done the same sort of thing as we've done with you, just on a larger scale, bringing in all sorts of other water assets, like curb stops and that sort of information. But one of the things your team was quite keen on is what they're doing here with water main breaks. So we could also have Ashley and the team at Ontario Clean Water, or your team, and working together, could then be plotting on the system where water main breaks have happened, so that you can see, again, from staff and council perspective, saying, right, these are the issues, this is why we want to do this. When it goes to -30, it's going to happen again. So if I just turn off a few things here, we can turn on the water main breaks, and you can see the history of where these all are in these little blue triangles. And as you can see in this community, there's going to be quite a few. So all those little blue triangles that show up have been past water main breaks, so that you can then click on those triangles and be able to see, what happened on there to make, again, decisions. It was the main, this is what we did to fix it. And you can also go and add another one. So your staff would be able to go add feature, water main maintenance, go in front of the property of where the break occurred, click the button. It would then add a point, and then allow your staff, again, to record what happened. So you can easily start creating that history and that knowledge, especially if staff retire or move on or not available. Existing staff can sort of see that and go forward. The other aspect of that is if you wanted to notify all the properties within a certain distance, you could also, notify people within a distance, again, in this case for water issues, but it also works for planning, building, any other kind of notifications. So you can draw a buffer. You can select within that buffer of all those properties that are within that distance. And then you can run a report to either do mailing list envelopes, labels, or a list. Now, I just won't show it here for privacy issues, but it would then do it one click, and then those, again, 145 envelopes are all done and can be sent off to the appropriate people. Other key aspects that the team was looking for is if we go out into Saskatchewan, and that's the other neat thing, is if you have an idea, we're like, oh yes, we're working with many municipalities, and here are some good examples. So if we log in out here, your team can also, again, take phone calls, or your staff notice things, then click on a property and add a service request, or again, which then turns into a work order. So you can say it's a pending issue. You can determine what department you want to assign it to. And again, this is in the public works case that can be assigned to, again, your internal staff or Aqua staff. You can say, well, what is the issue? It's a water on request. And then you can assign who you email it to, who's going to know about this right away. So you can send it to a person, to a team of people. and fill in the information. Hit save. It's attached to the property. People get notified by email, however they get it on their phone or their email. And then when they come back into the system, again, staff can click and say, oh, let's see all the pending service requests or work orders. So you can see what the list is and see the ones that just came in last week. You can go to the map of where that issue is, see any history on that property. Oh, seems to be probably a rental property. We've been there quite a bit. So you can go look at past issues so you're not working blind, and then you can go in and update the information. So that's another key aspect that can be used. Similar to that, I'll show you another twist of that. Once you've been putting that data in, a lot of staff, management, and council like the summary reports that can be generated from that sort of thing. So if we go to a different community, we can then say, we'd like to see a summary of all the things that have come in since January. So it gives a nice little summary of how many issues you've had, how many water are in progress versus complete. And you can copy and paste these into a council report or, again, just communication sharing amongst the team. But yeah, so that's sort of a quick summary of what we've been talking to our team about. Obviously, we, in the 130 some municipalities we're dealing with, we work with all departments. So again, it's very scalable to add information like official plans, zoning bylaw, building permits, pretty much anything you're doing, cemeteries within your community. But the top priority has been the water and sewer, taking you from paper to digital, and starting to integrate and work with finance, and then sort of go from there. Those have been sort of the highlights. Did I cover everything there, Sue, that we were sort of talking about?
Yes, I think you have, Jeff.
Okay, so yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're based out of Perth in Ontario, and we're working with a lot of municipalities, and I know staff have talked to others that we've been working with, but at this point, I'd open up for any questions you may have.
Councillor Poplinski.
Yeah, yes, Mayor Love.
I have managed to join the meeting, so if you don't mind, I will take over chair if that's all right.
That is perfectly okay, and welcome back. And I know we have from time to time the technical difficulties are there, so you managed to persevere, and good to have you back.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you getting going with the meeting for me. And I do apologize to all. I have two laptops going, both were updating and refused to finish. I couldn't get anything to move. So I'm finally back. Now, does anyone have any questions for Jeff? Any questions or comments? I can't see all of council. Jeff, I'm wondering, could you stop sharing screen if we don't need it?
Absolutely.
Ah, fantastic. Now I can maybe see the rest of council. Councillor Schulist, yes.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Yes, I've seen this presentation, and I think it's great. I think it's would be a great asset to the municipality. Now, it'd be nice to hear from the department head, because every one of them is affected, and it definitely would help. I remember Silas saying something that definitely is going to help them with things like building permits and planning and so on, and of course the water system. So, I definitely would like to support this here if we're going to go ahead with it, because I think this is a real positive tool for the municipality. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the department heads wish to comment on what they've seen? Again, it's hard to tell when I can't see you, but Sue?
Yeah, I wanted to add that, as previously reported to council, CGIS offers a package, so it would be different modules. So at this time, because we wanted to, we had prioritized water and wastewater because we didn't have any electronic copies of any mapping, and the only maps that we had were in the custody and care of Ontario Clean Waters. So we thought this was a good transition for business continuity on third-party staff as well as municipal staff. In looking at this program, there will be a report coming to council for budgeting purposes for next year to consider the whole host of modules, because there would be some advantages for us to use it in the cemetery. For example, I have discussed the advantages of digitizing all of the cemetery maps for the Cumbermere Methodist Cemetery that we oversee. It would include all of the individuals that we have plotted. All of the spreadsheets can be uploaded as well, and all of that information, you know, versus interment versus cremation, all gets listed in there as well. And that the caretaker was very interested in seeing that, and he thought that was a great business continuity tool as well, instead of always trying to find the old paper copies. And then we did have the initial presentation. We didn't have any information from Madawaska Valley, but we did have the manager of planning, and we had the building department and bylaw department as well. So I wasn't sure if Mr. Lebetsky wanted to comment, or if Mr. Phillips wanted to comment, because there are different modules and different tasks that we can do based on their individual departments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lebetsky.
Thank you, Mayor Love. In response to Councillor's question or inquiry, this is really, really good news to our department, because I'm dating myself here. We did the measurements through co-op students or whatever with a wheel. It's electronic, and one of the things I see, it even has the lot, plan numbers, everything that has transposed itself from the land registry office to this screen. It's wonderful, and to be able to do the notifications is another absolute bonus, because I think, if I recall from our first presentation, and Jeff can confirm that this information is provided to his company overnight, so our owners are current within a day or two. Otherwise, I was struggling with the current real estate boom. I didn't know where to send notices because the properties had changed hands, and you send it to the current owner and it turns either no response, or you don't know if you've given proper notification. But all we can do is the best that we have at hand. But this is fantastic. Thank you very much, Jeff and Council.
Just to confirm that, yes, we synchronize with your tax system nightly. So as your staff put in names and civic address, owner information, mailing address today, it syncs overnight without them having to do anything else. So we do that securely, and we've integrated with VADM in many communities across Canada for confidence.
Okay, that's great to know. Certainly having up-to-date information and being able to automate some of the tasks in the planning department would be very helpful to achieve some efficiencies and to be able to manage the boom that we're actually going through without having to work so hard on things that don't actually require the skills of our planning department, such as lists of people who are within 400 feet. Mike, Mr. Phillips, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Love. A few things that caught my eye there from the presentation were the tracking of all the water main locations, obviously, and whatnot, and being able to input the data, because as it is right now, it's just a knowledge in people's heads of where there's been problems and whatnot. And also, I don't know how intricate you can get into putting information in there, but maybe even like the depth of the water main and even the type of ground it's in would all be helpful things to know for future problems as they arise, for sure. Looks good.
Just to add to that, then, yeah, on that's where we work with staff to say, you can add anything you want, and then show you how others have done it, and then talk about saying what fields would you like, and then you guys can add it as you become aware, or if you can grab that person that's been there 30 years before they retire and download their brain. It's a win-win for everyone, so you're not cursing them when they retire, or bug them when they're trying to fish or hunt. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, that would be good because, you know, all that knowledge, and we have staff with significant knowledge, and having that opportunity to be able to capture some of that knowledge and keep it with the municipality would be hugely important. I'm wondering, Ashley, is there any advantages to Aqua now that we've gone from the paper maps to the digitization? Is that going to be more helpful?
Yeah, certainly. And I believe a component of Jeff's program, depending on how detailed you get with it, you can GPS curb stops, valves, any part of the distribution and collection system, and be able to accurately find them, because some of them are under the ground that you have to go on them and look for like a metal signal with a metal detector and go on that way. So no, it would definitely save a lot of time down the road, especially when there's 3 feet of snow and 2 feet of frost.
That's great. So it's good to know. Councillor Poplinski, did you have your hand up?
I
Okay,
did, Mayor
Councillor
Love.
Poplinski.
Yes, thank you kindly. I think it's a wonderful program. I think that it allows you to proact and see where the problem areas could be, and being able to take some action to prevent some of the larger costs. So I think it's something that we need to be pursuing. I would like to ask about, you talk about doing cemeteries, which I think is very important. How could it apply to our road system and make our whole process easier? Because we do a roads need study every 5 years, which dealing basically with the condition of the asphalt and so on, the cover. And there's many other aspects, as you know, to maintain roads, like the various other parts of the roads, which are not really being addressed under any other than, you know, driving by and looking at it. And so if we had some sort of system where they could track, and they probably have that capability. So I'd be very interested in knowing if we could have something like that.
Oh, yeah. So just like with the water mains, how we had them themed by the size of the pipe. Again, we look at your road need study, and usually they have IDs on them that match the road segment IDs. We can put that up, and then usually you have it themed different ways. So themed by condition rating, themed by the material type. So as you know, in those road need studies, they have between 20 and 50 columns of data. So you can visualize it however you want, and it becomes basically a living, capital plan that staff can play with, and then theme it, and then show council, so you can sort of see where things are, and it really helps paint a picture where things are. So we're doing that in most of the municipalities we're dealing with.
Thank you. I'd be very interested in seeing more information on that.
Yes. Okay, so Sue, what at the moment we've done our water and wastewater system, correct? So are we looking going forward at expanding this into some of the other areas that could hugely benefit from having this digitized information at our fingertips? Is that our general idea?
Yes, as I brought to council previously, because we had not budgeted for this item, and because department heads need to really put their head to what would be beneficial. We don't want to duplicate work. We want to make sure, we're not making a work project either. We want to ensure that it brings efficiency, as well as provides us the information that we need. Sometimes too much information, if we're not going to use it in the right way, is not going to bring us the efficiency that we seek. Jeff can confirm what I did like about this with this particular project is Aqua, as a third party, can go in at any time and input the information that they are working on, hydrant flushing or repairs, changes, piping or whatnot. And we on our side for staff can do the same. So if council granted an exemption because of a leak, and you have a policy that that location is granted one exemption, that would be logged on there. So if there's a different staff, we would know that that location has already received that exemption, for example. We're not quite done with this mapping yet. There was another action item that we've been working on from council, which was for us to identify where there's growth on our water and wastewater system. Where is it and what would the cost be if we were to say at each boundary of the municipality, how far can we go? What is the limitation of we already have the financial long-term research that was done through the treasurer. So we already have that document that can be implemented in there. But I believe, Ashley, if you wanted to speak to it, someone from your department is presently speaking with Mr. Dean as to what the cost and specifying some locations where we could do an assessment on where we could grow some of the water, wastewater connections, right?
Correct. So what Nick is doing from Aqua is he's looking at elevations, certain undeveloped areas around the municipality that, and taking into account the size of the water, the size of the sewage plant, just different areas that the town would be able to develop and what would be required if that was to happen. If it was a low elevation, it would require a pumping station to elevate the sewage and bring it in to the sewage plant and certain things like that. And he'll also lay that out on a perimeter around town. And so it will show the areas that the water and current plants would be able to take over or be able to handle.
Okay, so that's going to give us a sense of where growth needs to be on services, right? As we're looking at growth expanding out from Barry's Bay, certain areas can be serviced, certain areas can't be, and we're going to have a much stronger sense of that and an ability then to work with anyone developing those areas that can be serviced with a clear understanding of what their needs are going to be in order to complete their development.
That's correct.
That's the idea. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So Council, is there any other questions for Jeff at this point? This is like a tantalizing taste of where we can take this and what we can, benefit from this in terms of the knowledge that we can have at staff's fingertips and our ability to use this to create reports that are going to inform council as we proceed through budgets each year. I think that we can see there's a lot of value to having this information, and having it visually is so much easier to comprehend as well. And I think that's one of the key things that's very helpful. So Sue, how are we going to progress this? Figure out what are the pieces that we want to work with Jeff with to ensure that we're getting good value for what we're developing here?
Well, I think we need to finish with the water and wastewater one and involve staff a little bit more to see how flexible the program is and how they could use it. And I just wanted to bring light to the fact, and this was very impressive, after our first staff technical meeting to introduce this program to staff, the treasurer went back and had asked if we could use the old information that had been logged through Navigo. If you remember, Navigo was a database, and there was a contract staff and a municipal staff had collected every GPS location of hydrants and catch basins and poles and whatnot. And the treasurer sent that to Mr. Dean, and I'm not sure, Jeff, if you wanted to comment on that, but he said it was all he was able to import all of that information as well. So all of that information that was taken decades ago was able to be implemented because it was in a database.
Yes, and that's, again, part of it is what we showed today. So we're able to work with it, and we put that up, again, to show staff, give staff confidence, and to provide council confidence that, yes, we can work with this. And so that data won't go to waste and that effort won't go to waste, and we're able to work with it, which is great.
Okay, so I guess, Jeff, I really appreciate what you did. I know when you gave Councillor Schulist and I a little bit of a show and tell about what you were able to do with data, it was very exciting. We both found it very interesting, and now to be able to bring that to all of council is really, again, also exciting because I think we can see the potential and how this could be providing us with the information we need to be more efficient and more effective in how we make our decisions. Are there any other questions for Jeff at this point? Okay, so council, do we concur that we really would like to see staff look into this to see what components of the information that Jeff can offer and work with various departments to see what else is possible, because we need to get some sense of that in order to understand what the budgeting requirements would be over the next year or 2 or 3 as we bring this information online and start to work with getting it up and available for our staff. And no one with any concerns with that? So
No,
Sue, can
totally-
you work,
totally
you can
agree.
work with Jeff then and also the department heads. And if you guys could come back to us with some sort of plan for how we can get some great bang for our buck, that would be fantastic. Oh, Sue?
Yes, we'll bring that as part of your pre-council budget deliberations, so that by department, so that you're aware as to what it is that we can bring forward and what the benefits would be. And I'd like to add to that, with the new software that council move forward with, that it's easy for us to be able to do that weekly update of the address changes. So that was another benefit as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. Jeff, thank you so much. Really, really excited to be working with you on this and to see the results of this. We're stepping into the 21st century.
Well, thank you for taking the time and the opportunity, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye. Okay, well, that was really interesting. That was the delegation. Sorry, guys, I'm just getting my feet under me here. With that, I guess we'll move into the council and committee portion of the agenda. All recommendations from the standing committees are recommendations to council and are pending the approval of council at a subsequent meeting. So our first committee is Operations, Roads and Waste Management. And there he is. I will turn it over to Chair Bromwich.
Thank you, Mary Love. We have 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.16, 6.17. There's 2 recommendations that we have to vote on. The rest, I believe, are just received for information. Do you want to read these, Sue, at the end of my discussion with staff, or do you want to wait, read the recommendations now?
If we can read them as they come on the items, that would be great. It's easier for minute taking. Thank you.
We'll go one by one. So the first item is 6.1.1, and it's a report from Mike Phillips on the Public Works update. So it looks pretty good. Mike, would you like to comment and give us your information, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Carl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll start at the top here for the update. Tenders are 2101 hot mix paving contract that's all completed, so that's good. We're totally wrapped up on that one. Surface treatment contract, roadway construction is begun now, so I have no problems at all being finished here in September, so that'll be wrapped up nice and early. Crushed gravel haven't started yet, but I've been talking to them. They should be coming soon, September, October. Not a big rush on this one. It's one of those things that as long as it gets done. Truck and plow awarded, still waiting for our delivery. Bark Lake waste and transfer stations still receiving high volumes. Everything's running smoothly. We've begun moving all of some of the leaf and yard waste from the transportations to Bark Lake for being covered. We had a lot of leaf and yard waste brought to the transfer stations this summer, so it's a big job hauling it down there, but it's good to have down there because we can use it for cover material. Barry's Bay Hazardous Waste Day went off without hitches. 223 vehicles, so very good attendance for that. That's the one in Barry's Bay is not a joint day; it's only our township, so that's good numbers for just MV. Dangerous tree and brushing. Our contractor was still coming, obviously, for our brushing in late September, October. We've been doing lots of tree removal. dangerous tree removal and some of our own brushing projects, Cartoozy, Zappa, Bena Street, Chippewa Road. So whenever we have some time and some holes to fill, there's always some brushing that can be done and some trees that can be taken down to avoid issues. Washouts have been a lot better here the last little while, so we're pretty well caught up. It's just some very small shoulder washouts that are still kind of ongoing as we have time. Shouldering, the last of ours, capital shouldering will be done with Arvita once the surface is completed. And hardtop patching ongoing. It hasn't been too bad as of lately. Our weather seems to be turning for the better, which is a good thing. All sweeping has been completed. Safety and signage, our retroactivity sign testing has been started August 30th. So they should be completed here in the first couple weeks of September. So that's where we go around and make sure all of the signs are meet the minimum maintenance standards for reflectivity. Also, a couple just signs put up. We had a couple complaints of dumping issues on Long Lake Road, so we have some no dumping signs got installed there, and I think there's a couple other ones that I didn't get included in there, but yeah, that's been good. Roadside mowing has been completed for one cut. We have some areas that we're going to try to widen out and get ahead of the brushing. If we can get it with the roadside mower, it's easy. So we've been going around now and doing some extra cutting on a lot of corners and whatnot. So that'll continue to be ongoing for the fall. Parks, grass cutting ongoing. Extra maintenance has been required to keep the parks clean. There's been a lot of household waste being dumped in at our parks and whatnot, which is unfortunate, but it's going to happen. Just want to make point that it has been taking some man hours to keep those parks clean and keep that stuff cleaned up. Calcium's been completed. Everybody's got around, and now we've just been doing touch-ups with the grading. Anytime that we have to do grading in front of someone's house or whatnot, we touch up the calcium so they don't get the dust. Our capital projects, Fog Lake Road, the only thing left, and I haven't got a chance to talk to our people there overseeing that project, but was the granular sealing. So, and I was down there and it looked like most of it was done. I believe it might all be done, so that project could be wrapped up, but I'll have to have a better conversation with perspective there to make sure before I go out on a limb and say we are totally completed. And then some employees, we have 2 new positions to replace. Interviews should take place this week, so that's exciting. And that's all for my update. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Mike. That's really great. Is there any comments from council on this, please? It's been a tough go with COVID regarding staff participation and everything, but you guys have done a great job. I just want to commend you on your efficiency, and it's been a good summer for you guys. Thank you very, very much.
Perfect. I got a question from Kim there, Carl.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you down there. You're way down the bottom. Yep,
Oh,
I got
sorry.
There you go, Mayor Love.
That's unusual because usually I have to say, I speak so often that I end up near the top. But no, just a quick question for Mike. I'm wondering if you have any sense of when we'll get the truck and plow?
Not a great sense. We did have a conversation with them. I think that was about a couple weeks ago, and they had picked up the work order, which they said is a good sign, which means being built. I'm hoping October. That was kind of the date that we had thrown around. So, but like I said, it's been crazy out there in the half-ton world with backlogs and I don't know, microchips or something. Everybody's, yeah, it's total craziness out there in that racket. So
I was just thinking of the fact that we have additional road that we will be looking after, and so we probably do need this truck. So I'm just hoping fingers crossed, it comes before snow flies.
Everyone keep those fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments from council? That's just being taken as information, I believe. Next one is 6.1.2 from Hillary. Would you give us an update on your tender report for demolition grinding at Bark Lake, please? Thank you.
Good morning to you, Chair, Carl.
Sure.
So it's that time of the year again, the good old grinding at the wayside, and it's almost a replication from 2020. There's a big pile of C&D, and of course, within our ECA, we can have 2,000 tons, and there's about 1,500. So we only had one bidder with good value. It's within our budget. So, and National Grinding was the winner. So, on a recommendation.
Okay, maybe we get Sue to read the recommendation for us, please.
Yes, through the chair, that council recommends approving the lowest tender MV 2021-11, construction demolition grinding by National Grinding Incorporated in the amount of $24,012.50, HST included, subject to requirements of the contract, and that it be applied against account 11217704031, waste disposal C&D grinding.
And I'll also move that. Could I have a seconder, please? And that's Ernie Poplinski. Any further discussion on this? I see none. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Item 6.1.3 here is our landfill.
I believe there's a question, Councillor
Oh,
Bromwich.
sorry, Ernie. To you, sir.
Thank you. My question actually is to Hillary. We talked about the major increase in amount of garbage coming into our dumps. And of course, I'm aware of the life cycle of these dumps. Should we be having a bigger conversation at some point in the next little while? How are we going to, because if our life expectancy of those dumps is being shortened significantly as we see this increase, are we already looking at ways of extending that? Or I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Through you, Ernie. Absolutely, we should have a conversation. I believe what I'm going to do coming into the end of the year, I'm going to do a analysis of the intake from 2020, how it has increased, and I'll use the data from 2019 to see what COVID did here. And it's all about, we don't have scales, so it's volume. The volume means waste. So that's my goal at the end of this year. I'm going to simply take the spreadsheets and see how much percentage we've increased. Then we can take that from there. It will have an effect. There's no question about, in my mind, on the original ECA. And pension will probably do the drone. We need a drone thing to see what's going on. It's taking a significant hit there.
Great.
I can see the revenue side of things have jumped again. So whenever you see a lot of revenue, that means more garbage.
To you, Amanda.
Good.
Amanda, I see your hand up.
Sorry, just a reminder. So we do produce or require a landfill closure estimate report at the end of every year. And Pension does that for us, where they look at the various factors and do a multiplication to allow us to see what they expect the landfill closure estimated year estimate would be. So I believe at that time, when we require the report, we'll work with Hillary to ensure that we have the most accurate data for that report for council.
Thank you. Any further comments on this? I know with COVID here, everybody's doing renovations in their homes, and there's an awful lot of waste going out there. I just sent a great big dumpster myself out there, so I'm contributing to the waste out here. To you, Mark.
I wanted to make a comment on those end of year reports on the landfill. I've seen them for a number of years, and my concern with them is that depending on how much, and we know this year with the pandemic that there's a lot going in. So it may really show this year that our life has been shortened considerably because of the increase in volume. But I think you need to look at it in long term, because I think next year we'll probably see a bit of a slowdown again. So those figures can jump all over the place. I think we need to have a discussion. Councillor Poplinski is right, but I think sometimes we can see a jump where you may have 22 years left, and the next year it's showing you have 10, but then the following year it goes back up to 25. So, I think when we look at them and have the discussion, there's a lot of information to consider, and we need to think more than just what's happened over the last year, because I think it's an oddity compared to the norm around here.
Thank you very much, Mark. Any further comments on this? Yes, to you, Mayor Love.
I think Councillor Wimmer is right about the bump we're going to see due to COVID, but we do also have to be mindful of the fact that we are very much a growing community. And we have a number of subdivisions coming online, which is going to bring people who are going to have garbage. So as our community grows, the needs we have in terms of landfill space is going to change as well. Hillary, could you remind us how long it took to get the expansion of Bark Lake, that process?
Well, 205, and I believe they were about 2 years into it. So we got it in, I would say, 10 to 15 years it would take for expansion.
Yes. Okay, so we know that if expanding Bark Lake landfill is something that would be considered, it is going to take many years to achieve that, because in the first place we'd have to ascertain whether there's land we can expand to, if we are able to acquire that land, and then that whole process. So it's not unworth having a conversation, absolutely, about what does that look like in general, even though we may be 35 years out. It's good to just keep that in mind as we're moving forward. What's this process? Because you want to be sure that that's in council's thoughts, in the next council's thoughts, because at some point a council is going to have to start to make decisions that are going to address our future needs. And we are a growing community. So even if we see garbage levels coming down a bit post-COVID, I think they're still generally trending up because there are more people living here. So I think it's something we have to keep in mind and be thoughtful about. Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Poplinski, for bringing that up.
To you, Sue.
I also wanted to remind council, we had asked Pynchon to investigate the benefits, both cost-wise and showing due diligence, and the municipality as good stewards of the land to closing cells over time, as opposed to waiting for full landfill closure as well. And Pynchon said that that was a consideration they'd be bringing forward as well.
Good news. That's good. Good thinking. Progressive thinking, Sue, for sure. Eh? Any further comments on this? I think we're on the right track here. Moving along to 6.1.3, Hillary's got a recommendation here. Purchase of 2 additional landfill covering plates. If you'd like to give us some background information, Hillary, on that before we make the recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah, speaking of waste management, so we through the capital budget for 2 more additional landfill covering plates. So I started this process off in about March or April. I sent a thing out and I noticed a big jump in them. So I was holding off. In my wisdom, I'm thinking that it would stabilize the steel prices, and it actually did worse. And he's going to honor this. He said they jumped again 10%. I thought, okay, I got to get this out the door here before we get into a real problem. So it is a jump. The steel prices haven't gone down. It's worldwide, I believe, the steel. And this is what I came up with. And we only have $20,000 budgeted, so out of reserves, the recommendation. If it should need to be out of reserves, at the very end. So
yeah, okay. I'll get Sue to read the recommendation if we could first off. Thank you.
Yes, through the chair, that council approve the purchase of 2 additional landfill covering plates from Draper Industries for a total cost of $27,765 plus applicable HST, and any shortfall be drawn from the Waste Management Equipment Replacement Reserve.
Also move that. If I could get a seconder for that, please. Ernie Poplinski. And the discussion on this, I think we're caught in the middle of a price increase that's going to stay around for quite a while. And it happens, there's cycles about the steel industry. I remember back in the 70s, steel became so pricey because of pipeline construction that everybody was rewriting their budgets every week. So is there any discussion on this, or yes to you, Mayor Love?
Thank you, Chair. Just for the public's information, what we use these steel plates for is instead of daily cover. So we are saving landfill space, significant amounts of space, by applying these steel plates on top of the garbage. They're helping to compress and keep the garbage compressed, but they're also able to be removed so more garbage can be added without continually adding layers of cover. And so when we were talking just in our last discussion about landfill space, this is one of the key ways that the municipality is working hard to ensure we get absolutely the most we can out of our landfill in the best and most environmentally friendly way. So I certainly appreciate, Hillary needing 2 more of these cover plates to do this good job that he's doing with this. We just kind of have to swallow hard, accept that steel costs more, but let's face it, we're going to have a giant hunk of steel. Let's hope the price don't go down. We've got an investment in steel, and it is providing good bang for our taxpayers' buck. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? I don't see any. Would you care to vote on this, please? All in favor? And that is carried. Thanks so much, Hillary. Now we have some information here. I don't think there's a recommendation other than just didn't receive as information. The 6.1.4 is budget to actual for roadway. Everybody's seen this. I don't know if we should have to discuss it. Is there any questions about this before we accept it? I don't see anything that's really standing out.
No questions.
No questions from me. I think we just received this as information, Sue. Is that case? 6.1.5. It's also your budget to actual street lights. I don't see anything outstanding on that either, Hillary. There's nothing you want to comment on. Anybody in council regarding this? I think we just received as information. Thank you. 6.1.6 is the budget to actual waste disposal. Anybody have any questions on that? Hillary, do you want to speak on this?
It's stable.
Yeah.
If you look on top, the revenue side of things, what's happening there? That's interesting.
Tipping fees, whoa.
Yeah. Garbage tag fees, they are over even at this time of year.
There's a lot of garbage going in. I know.
There is.
That just shows the growth of the township in kind of a, well, we make more money, we lose less landfill size. So, yeah, this is indicative of a growing township, and we're not alone here. I think every other municipality in Ontario, especially rural, is going through somewhat the same thing. And maybe next year, like you say, it could even out with COVID hopefully coming to an end and people going back to work. So is there any further discussion on this? I think we all realize what's going on. Thank you. 6.1.7.
Ernie has a question, Carol.
Oh, sorry, Ernie, didn't see you there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, is there any update that we've got on the blue box, or is that going to be covered at some other point in the meeting? I'm just wondering. I know we had seen something recently and wondering if there was anything further, because that's going to have major implications for us, hopefully in a positive way down the road.
I believe it will be positive, but they're still shooting for 2024, 25. I believe COVID, it might even be longer now.
Okay.
Yeah, I dug into that as much as I could get out of it. And I got very, very little information that was finalized. Yeah. And they keep saying they're working on it. They've got suggestions. They're going through planning processes, but there's nothing concrete coming out. All they keep saying is the blue box program is being revised. It's going to lay on the suppliers, the manufacturer's shoulders to pay for all this tipping fees. And how they're going to make that work, I have no idea. That is one of the toughest things I've heard. The manufacturers are going to absorb that. They're going to pass it on to their final product to everybody when they sell it. So we're going to end up paying for it anyway. And that's what they're trying to work around to see if they can sugarcoat that so everybody accepts it. But they've got a major selling program to do with the manufacturers. If they're going to eat this, there's going to be repercussions on it. So expect everything to increase in price, just like our food prices are going up right now. So thank you. Any further comments on this? Oh, it's you, Ernie. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to comment about, I agree with you. However, I think that what'll happen is if they do get something implemented, we're going to see less packaging and perhaps it'll have less of an impact than in our landfills and so on. So it's all part and parcel of it. So we look forward to some positive change there. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. Any further comments? We can move along then to where are we here? 6.1.6 waste disposal. We've done curb pickup 6.1.7, which is the last one here. Anything in there that anybody's got an issue with curbside pickup? We just went through a new billing thing. What last meeting we had, we went through and studied the curbside pickup and adjusted it for the next for the coming year 2022. So it should even things out. Do you, Mayor Love?
Just a question about the replacement garbage truck. Has that been ordered?
Ooh, Mike, take it away.
Didn't know it was going to be
Yeah.
contentious.
Yeah, it's, so it's been going back and forth quite a bit here with the manufacturer and some different companies that make, trying to get some sort of a design lined up. I know, like you guys know, that original 67, when we got it, was such a one-off piece of equipment to be able to do everything that we do with it. It's been a battle to try to, of course, the company that did build it seems to have gone out of business. So to try to get other companies on board to basically redesign a truck to do everything we need to do has been a battle. We thought we were going in the right direction for a while, and then latest news was the company we thought we had lined up to do it wasn't able to get the equipment, or wasn't able to do the job they thought they would. So we're back to I have another Zoom meeting scheduled coming up here with the manufacturer to see and look at some other municipalities that are kind of doing somewhat of the same program, but on a different scale. See, our problem is we're doing a lot, but we're doing everything with the same. Like the bigger municipalities have multiple trucks that they only need to use for one source, one stream, where we have to do basically all the streams with one truck. So it makes it very difficult to get that unit replaced. But we're still working on it. Nothing is ordered as of now, as we don't have a design yet. But in the background, we're doing our best, setting up Zoom meetings and talking with manufacturers and talking with other municipalities to try to figure this out.
Okay, thank you. I wanted an update. That was all. Thank you.
Any further discussion on that? I think that pretty well cleans it up. That's just it'd be accepted as recommended or as information. 6.2.1, we have an email from
Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Chair,
Yes.
sorry. I did notice that the transfer station budgets are on page 129. So since that would come under your chairship, I'm wondering if you could do that budget as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, here we go. Budget by transfer station budget. Page 129, and leave this up to discussion here. We've got I don't know if there's anything in there that's really stands out being to be discussed, but anybody want to comment on that? Transfer station salaries are all in line. I think we're on budget there. Total expenses. Any questions on this particular thing? Because we can just recommend to take as information. Is that the case?
No questions.
Okay. We'll just take that as information then, Mary Love. Is that right?
Yep. No, thank you. It's part of your chairship, so I wanted to make sure you got a chance to do it.
Thank you for being so attentive. I missed that one. Thank you. Yeah, correspondence wise, we have an email from Nelson Deem. Is there should we go, any action be taken on that, or just take it as information? You want to discuss it? Anybody got a discussion going on this, or? Give you a chance to read if you'd like, and page 23. Regarding concession 5 in Cumbermere. I don't know if there's any action to be taken to you, Sue.
Yes, there is an action item pending. Staff has to bring forward to council for review the encroachment bylaw for revisions to reflect all encroachments. The property owner has been advised that there may be requirement for an Ontario land survey depicting all existing encroachments and structures, as the existing bylaw references the well, but not the rocks.
So it's ongoing. No action required by us, I think, okay? Anybody got any comments other than that? Let's take that as information then, Sue. Next, move along. There's no unfinished business. And I'll pass this back to you, Mayor Love, Chair of the, oh, sorry, there's David Schulis there wants to comment on something.
Yes, Mr. Chair, unfinished, not unfinished business or anything, but, you know, I've just noticed a few things and I don't know where they it should fall, probably under operations. I noticed along the way to the hospital on that sharp curve, there's a lot of grass and weeds growing through the sidewalk and alongside of the paved road and all that. Now I don't know if it is hazardous to structural design. I mean, it doesn't look good and all that, but is there something that maybe we could take a look at it, because it would be terrible to see it fall apart. And I don't know enough about that kind of construction, but it just to me it shows that there might be a problem in the future and stuff. So I don't know if somebody wants to take a look at it. And again, is it our sidewalk? Maybe it's maybe not our concern, but anyway, just bringing it up. And also there's a path there. You know where the sign to the arena? There's like crushed stone going through there. There are a lot of weeds going through there. I don't know if we are responsible for maintaining that, but appearance is everything. First impressions and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm just bringing it up. I think we need to look at these kind of things because we should definitely be proud of our community, and sometimes appearance and everything else is an asset for us. So anyway, just bringing it up. So I'll kind of leave it up with operations, Councillor Bromwich, and we'll take it from there. But just bringing out these points. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. To you, Mike. You maybe have a comment on that?
Sure. No, I had more of a question there for Councillor Schultz there, just on the locations. The location I was thinking of is on the side of Siberia Road. I just know that because I've gotten a few, not complaints, but a few questions about that section, and it is county there on Siberia Road. But yeah, so if just clarification for those locations, and I'll definitely take a look.
Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. Maybe I'll make contact with you, and we can chit chat and then go through it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nice to get feedback for operations. The lads aren't going to be everywhere at all times. And anytime you see something that looks a little bit out of turn, mention it to operations, Mike and Hillary. And I've had 100% cooperation from these chaps getting it done. So thanks very much for all the work you've been doing, guys. Appreciate it there, Councillor Schulis. Thank you. I think that's the end of my little stint, I think. Unless you find something else for me, Mayor Love.
No, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll turn it back to you then. Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to operations, water, wastewater, and facilities, and I'm turning it over to Chair Schulist so he could take us through this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. We'll start off with the 7.11. It's Ontario Clean Water Agency Performance Report, second quarter 2021, water and wastewater treatment plant. And I'm sure, Ashley, you will speak on. I only have one question. Again, I'll be asking council or committee members if they have any questions, but I have one on page 29 under complaints and service request. When it's referred to Barry's Bay Park, which park are we talking about? Is that Water Station Park? Yeah. So anybody, yeah.
I'll have to look into that. That was just a note that we had taken out of our work order system. So I will confirm that and I will let you know.
Okay, much appreciated. It just, yeah, I've just not, I don't know, you know, of Barry's Bay Park other than, you know, Surikowski and the Water Tower Park and so on. Yeah. So if you don't mind doing that, that would be wonderful. Any questions from rest of the committee? I don't see any hands up. So there is a recommendation. Maybe Madam CEO, could you read the recommendation?
That the Ontario Clean Water Agency performance report for the water and wastewater plants second quarter is accepted as presented.
Okay, I'll move that. I'm looking for a seconder. Yes, Madam Mayor is going to second it. If there's any other discussion, let me know. I don't see any. All in favor? Recommendation is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the next one here is the Aqua proposal ICIP funding. Now, does Amanda get in as soon as we talk about funding, or Ashley, are you taking care of this one?
Thanks, Mr. Schulist. Aqua submitted a proposal to take care of it on behalf of the municipality.
Okay.
So in there, we were looking at getting the water plant roof replaced, the water tower chamber rehabilitation, the tower and ladder fall protection system, and as well as a comprehensive tower inspection.
And the thing about it is anytime we can get funding to help the municipality, I think definitely we need to do so. So basically, you just need committee support here. Maybe read the recommendation, Madam CAO, and then we can take it from there.
Through the chair, that council approves Ontario Clean Water Agency funding proposal for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program Icip Green Stream Stage 2, and that the Aqua professional fees to complete the application of $3,900 are approved.
Okay, I will move that recommendation. I need a seconder. I don't see no seconder. Okay, Councillor Poplinski. And now for any discussion? I don't see none. So all in favor? That is carried. Very good. Now there's a letter, 7.1.3 letter from Ontario Water Agency, August 31st, 2021. And who wants to speak on this behalf? Would be Madam CEO.
Just a prelude to Mr. Pilgrim, just kind of summarizing his letter. I had asked them to provide us with the effluent limits the week that we had received notification from the County of Renfrew that the beach was closed because the levels were higher than we had seen them in a long time. I believe the levels were at 1,000. So I had asked Ontario Clean Water to provide us with the testing that they do at that same time, just so that we can ensure that it was only because of geese. So if you wanted to speak to that, Mr. Pilgrim, that'd be great.
Thank you, Sue. I'm going to actually pass this one off to Kaylee, the process and compliance technician for Madawaska Valley.
Thanks, Ashley. Hello, everyone. Just to summarize what was noted in the letter, I went over how we as the operating authority are operating your facility. So we follow the Environmental Protection Act, Ontario Water Resources Act, and the facility certificate of approval itself. Certificate of approval is necessary for sewage works discharging into the natural environment, and that has specific limits that need to be followed. These limits are found in section 7 of the C of A, and that has our concentration limits as a monthly average. So following the E. coli average, we're allowed 200 organisms per 100 milliliters. And we've collected those on a weekly basis as per the effluent monitoring in section 9, I believe. This monitoring limit is based on a grab sample. So a grab sample is representative of a specific instance rather than a composite over 24 hours. And then attached in Appendix A, you can see the monthly averages of our E. coli that's been collected, with everything working out to be under 30 coliform units per 100 milliliters consistently. So we have not exceeded, sorry, that's a bad choice of word. We're under our limit of 200 consistently. We also did dye testing of a private sewer line that runs along Lakeshore Drive to be sure that there's no leaks, and nothing was identified. So in summary, we are underneath our limits as per our certificate of approval, and there are no leaks in the immediate area of the Barry's Bay Beach.
Super, good report there. Thank you very much for taking care of that. Any committee members have any questions for Kaylee on this one? Madam CEO.
Just for council clarification as well, on page 81 of your council package, I had included just as correspondence the section 13 order. That was the correspondence in question when I contacted Aqua.
Okay, thank you. Any question, Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kaylee, for doing that. I really appreciate that Aqua is able to provide the numbers for what is coming out of our wastewater treatment plant. It does then reassure the public that that is not the source of the problem. And council is aware that we do have a goose problem on Lakeshore, on the beach. So perhaps that is the source of our E. coli. We don't have any proof of that for certain, but we do now know, and the public can be reassured that it is not an issue with our wastewater treatment plant. And I think that's very important that they receive that reassurance. So thank you very much for that.
Right, I totally agree with you, Madam Mayor. The goose are always a problem. We love them, but they sometimes can be a big problem. So anyway, thank you very much for the report. I don't see anything else from other council members.
Councillor Wilmer has his hand up.
I don't see him. I do not see him. Okay, Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, I was just going to add, thank you, Kaylee. I think this is really good information and very timely right now, because there has been a lot of speculation, rumors about the plant on social media. And I think we all know that it's most likely the geese, because I live right across from it. And I know when they come in on my shoreline, the place is totally fouled in 10 minutes. So, you know, with the water flow and the small amount of water flow in that bay or shoreline, you know, I'm thinking, yeah, it's got to be the geese. But I think it's good to have this report that shows the public and who was concerned that it's definitely not from the pollution control plant.
Yes, I agree with you, Councillor Wilmer. Very important. Okay, any other questions? I see one more hand, Madam CAO.
Just wanted to add, on Friday, we received another negative result. It was around 600, and we notified Aqua the same day, and they provided us numbers as well to that showed that all of the numbers were of regular acceptable levels that they always expect to see there.
All right. Any other? I don't see. Okay, we'll continue. 7.1.4 expenditures. We're going to be spending some money here. So Ashley, maybe you could let us know the importance of all the stuff we're purchasing.
Certainly, Mr. Schulist. So in the report contains a variety of different things. This one all pertains to the water treatment plant at this time. So 2133465 was for water main parts and to be ready for emergency breaks, to have those parts in stock. And then there was also a hydrovac excavation of a water service. There was a chlorine compliance sensor that had to be replaced. A 4-inch drain valve at the filter 2 had to be replaced, as well as we had the underwater inspections of the intake coming into Barry's Bay water treatment plant, and the tower were done robotically. So those all work in hand with the funding applications, coincidentally, and we do them on a certain a 5-year rotation typically, just to ensure everything in the that you can't see is still performing as it should.
Okay, I see no problem with that. Anybody on the council have any questions for Ashley on these expenditures? I do not see any. Now, it's not really a recommendation, but we have to have a motion on this one too, Madam CEO.
Yes, I'd like to read it out, please.
To approve
I'm
it,
gonna
yeah.
move her to seconder. That council approved the Ontario Clean Water Agency expenditures as presented, totaling $16,732.11. Invoices work order 2133,465, 2208,496, 222,4302, 2267681, and 2316209.
Okay, I'll move that recommendation or approving this this expenditure. I need a seconder. I see Councillor Wilmer is second. Any other discussion on the matter? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Now we have 7.1.5 budget to actual water system August 30th at 2021. And I'm sure everybody has taken a look on it. Does anybody want to speak on behalf? I think everything seems to be under control, but if anybody has a question on this, please put your hand up. I don't see any. And 7.1.6, is that, it almost looks identical. What's the difference between the two? I couldn't spot it, so.
One is on the wastewater and one is on the water system.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. All right. And basically the same thing. You know, I myself, I don't see any problem in that. I think it's a good report. Any other questions? I don't see any at this moment. So just received as information and we'll accept that. We have under correspondence and information 7.2.1. Certificate of analysis, August 27, 2021. There's surface water testing, Gulfers Lane. So there was a complaint, but I think the testing proves that everything is quite okay. Madam CEO, would you want to take care of this one?
Actually, I think I'll let Ashley speak to this.
Or Ashley, okay, Ashley.
Thank you. So yes, earlier, a few weeks ago, there was a resident complaint on Kemaniskig Lake on Gulfer Lane, which resides in Hastings Highlands. It was regarding a sighting of possible blue-green algae. So the Belleville MECP branch came up and did testing, and this is the analysis that would accompany that. Now, in the items that they had found, the results were under 10 micrograms per liter. So that's very good. So that kind of, that takes care of that. Now, with the Barry's Bay water system, we have a harmful algal bloom plan with the plant that if there is any complaint or a sighting, something like that in any of the watershed, then we have to sample for, 3 consecutive weeks, Kaylee?
Yes.
Do you want to go from here?
Yeah, sure. I'll take over. So like Ashley said, we have a harmful algal bloom plan in place. This is required underneath Barry's Bay Municipal Drinking Water License. It has certain stipulations that a trigger, as Ashley mentioned, is a suspected sighting. This can come from the public, it can come from the ministry itself, and that's of course how this sighting happened. So we will be sampling the raw and treated water for the microcystin. That is the most toxic of the cyano bacteria or blue-green algae. That's why it's being tested. And we will test that consecutively until we have no detected microcystin 3 weeks in a row and the water is considered free of the blue-green algae. The ministry, you can see, did test that as well as the anotoxin. Just to break that down for you guys a little bit, microcystin is a hepatotoxin and it's more common. That's why it's being tested. And the anotoxin is a neurotoxin. It's less common, but we are starting to see it more in fresh water. So the hepatotoxin is something that'll target your liver, and the neurotoxin, of course, will target the nervous system. And that's why they're both being tested simultaneously. And I would like to
thank you very much.
Sorry, I would like to point out that though it was detected, there isn't a limit for the anotoxin level like there is with the microcystin.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaylee and Ashley on that. Any questions for Ashley and Kaylee? I don't see any. Looks like everything is under control. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we are now on 7.22, Renfrew County and District Health Unit. Madam CEO, yeah, you can speak on this matter here.
Yes, thank you,
you
Chair.
referred to it just before that, so.
That's correct. I included it as information so that council was aware why Ontario Clean Water had prepared that follow-up report for council.
Okay, thank you. No, nobody's got any questions for Madam CEO? I don't see any. Okay, we'll move on. Unfinished business now. This is under facilities. I had asked Madam CEO about what's the status of our structural review for the railway station, and at some point there's going to have to be discussion, but they recommended maybe it going under our committee surplus land working group. So Madam Mayor, as the chair there, I guess at some point we can have a discussion there. And I think it's important because, I think it's important for us to know the situation at the railway station. So I'll leave it up to when the next meeting is. And basically, I just want to let council know that this is what we're up to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I would assume council will be receiving the building condition assessments at some point. They must be completed fairly soon, I would imagine. Amanda, maybe you could speak to that.
So we were hoping that they would be done a lot earlier, but the reason that we were able to fund these building condition assessments was grant money, which 440 other municipalities applied for grant funding. So I can only assume that a large majority of them also applied for building condition assessments, because we're all sort of in the same boat where we have to update our asset management plans, and these are important for those reportings. So we have received a majority of the reports. The ones that we have not received yet are heritage sort of buildings, ones that we might want to take a little closer of a look at, and so they're being delayed a little bit, but we have been in contact with the company, and hopefully very soon we'll be receiving the balance of the reports that we have not received yet.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to hear from Deputy Clerk Gwen. She had recommended a special council meeting or something. Is Gwen around, or?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I don't see. Okay, there you go. Okay, we're ready to listen.
No, I was just proposing that we bring all of the information back from the property working group and the building condition assessments at one meeting. So, because I assume it'll be a fairly long meeting, and we just put aside a date to discuss it with council.
Okay, well, listen, I agree with that. I think that's a great idea. So anyway, so that's out there. We'll take care of business.
Availability, that's all.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that we need to nail a date on that meeting and then go from there. I think it's important that we have a good discussion on that. So I think that pretty well takes care of my committee. So back to you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We will move on then. Our next committee is Fire and Protection and Emergency Management, and I'll turn it over to Chair Poplinski.
Thank you, Mayor Love. I'm just wondering, is our chief with us? Oh, there he is. Just showed up.
Morning.
How are you?
How are you?
How are you? Welcome, Corey. So we have in items 8.11, pages 83 to 102 in your package. We've got the fire call breakdown. If you would like to speak about that.
Okay, today we've had 42 calls in total. 30 in the North Hall, 9 in the South Hall, not including the one we just had in the weekend, so that'll be in the next report. We had a 6-week span with no real calls, other than I've had quite a few campfire calls, but there are no 911 calls during that time. Bylaw complaints, we're up to 35 bylaw complaints so far this year. The noise complaints are starting to pick up more than anything else, and with the odd property standards, there'll be a lot of neighbor disputes with Airbnbs, which I'll have to bring a report to council once I get all my information in the next report in October. So I'll give you kind of an idea of what's going on within the township with the noise complaints and the neighbor disputes are. But that'll be sort of an in-depth kind of thing. There's different pockets of Airbnbs and rental properties that are becoming issues. Then we got the exotic animal bylaw. I went through, added the pieces that council recommended last time, and added a provincial offences fines at the end. So that's for council's review if we need any changes before we send it to the province for approval, and then council's approval also.
Any questions by council or comments? Would you like, yes, Mayor Love?
Yes, the animal bylaw. I'm just wondering if I could get a copy of it to just read through, and just there's some little small words missing, like that give things more clarity. I'd just like to go through and fix those little issues up rather than spending council time doing that, and propose it back with a bold and strike through to staff, just to make sure that the language is really clear, because I just noticed in reading it there were a couple of spots where it wasn't terribly clear. Roughly I had the intent.
I take it you're referring to the exotic bylaw?
Yeah, the animal one. Yes, the exotic animal one. And just there is one section that I really don't understand, and maybe I'll just go through those points with the chief to make sure that it's clear, because I'm on page 98 and it says, where a section of this bylaw has been contravened, a director or officer of the corporation who knowingly concurs in the contravention is guilty of an offense. Is that, I don't understand what that's referring to. What director or officer of the corporation would be concurring? Like, what is it referring to?
What that's sort of referred to when I talked to Hastings Highlands was, if I'm not available and they want to make an exemption, council or the CAO clerk step in and make an exemption for a certain time frame. You sort of overrule like an exemption. That's what I asked Hastings Highlands, because we copied their bylaw exactly. I just cut and pasted it. So that's what I asked them, because I didn't understand it myself. And that's sort of direction they gave me. They said their lawyer told them to put that in there that way. But I had the exact same question on that.
All right, that's fine. I mean, if council doesn't mind, I'd just like to go through. I was reading it on the weekend and going, it needs an "a" there, it needs a "the" there, just so it's clear. There's little words missing, and I'd just like to go through and make sure those little words are in there, and then run it by staff before we actually turn it into a bylaw. It would just give it some clarity. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to have staff come back with a further report on that, will we? Thank you. Yes, Madam CAO.
If I can read the recommendation, we would then like to proceed to bring forward the actual bylaw after those revisions are done. So that the fire call and bylaw breakdown reports are accepted as information, and that the draft exotic bylaw is approved to proceed to bylaw approval at an upcoming council meeting.
Okay, so we're looking for we need a motion on that, do we?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay, we've got Councillor Schillist and Mayor Love, seconded. Any further comments? All in favor? Motion's granted. Yes, Mayor Love? Everybody is good? Everybody's good? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've got, before we have you leave there, Chief, I would just like to make sure that we've got everything covered here. So just bear with me a second. Okay, we've got, I think we're good. We are dealing with correspondence, pages 117 to 118, 8.21. It's a letter from the Ministry of the Solicitor General dated August the 5th, 2021. And it's regarding the emergency exercise and training. And Chief, would you like to speak about that?
Yeah, last year we were given an exemption for the emergency management because of the pandemic. This year they're requiring us to do a tabletop. So Gwen and I have been discussing it. So we're bringing it to council to try and figure out what dates will be available between now and hopefully the 1st of November to complete a tabletop either by Zoom or actually maybe at the arena or whatever. But we're just trying to come with council. We actually is here. Gwen's here. So we're trying to figure out dates for over the next 6 weeks to 2 months. That everybody's available to do one date. We'll work on that and get the tabletop exercise done for compliance for December.
So the theme of the tabletop, then, has that already been talked about with the ministry? Is that something that they have input into?
No, that's our decision. That's our decision.
We decide. We will
decide, and they just sit in and listen, and we'll go through. And once we get the tabletop completed, they'll sit in and listen and say, "You just complete it," and that'll help with our compliance there. And come December when they hand out the paperwork.
Okay. So we're well on our way then, planning towards that.
We're well on our way. We're more or less getting ready, more or less to figure out the proper date. So council's going to be there, and Gwen and myself and the CAO.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Yes, Mayor Love?
Yeah, for the
Yes,
tabletop
Mayor
exercise, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
I can.
Okay, good. So for the tabletop exercise, we don't actually need all of council. It's just those who are in the control group. But it would be very helpful if we could get some participation from some of the relevant community groups like Valley Manor,
yes,
the hospital, some of those that normally would come together in person, and perhaps staff could consider doing this one on Zoom, because you never know when you won't be able to get together in person. It's worthy of attempting to, I think, do it to keep us safe and do it on Zoom, and hopefully get as many of those participants involved in the exercise this year, because it has been a while since we've been able to bring them all together, including the OPP, paramedics. So it might be a worthwhile exercise to do this one on Zoom, considering the Delta variant, and just so that we do remind all of those participants through the process of doing one that this is something we should be doing every year. Thank you.
I think it's a very good point. I think we should do that, because I think many of the others, they would have experienced some of the same challenges that we've had with dealing with Zoom. But I think overall, there could be a lot of misunderstandings about how things work. And I think it's a very good point. It could be not just the Delta variant, it could be a variant, it could be others factors that could come into play. So I would like to see that taken into account then, to do it by Zoom if that's possible. Okay. Any other comments from council or questions on that? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item 8.22 at pages 119. It's an email from Staff Sergeant at the Killaloe OPP, and it's regarding a survey, an online survey, which hopefully everybody will take the time to do this. There's a deadline which it has to be done, so you have it in your package, and I would ask everyone to do it. I think it's something that obviously it's required. And I think it's very important that we do have our input. So is there any questions at all about that? Or comments? Okay. And you'll see in the package where the deadline is, I believe it's September 20th. I haven't got it directly in front of me. But it is here in the package, so somewhere. So have a look at that, and hopefully we can comply. If there's no further comments on that particular item, we'll move on to 8.3, and it's unfinished business. Is there anything that yes, Madam CAO?
Just Mr. Chair, I was wondering if there were any questions on any of the budgets at 8.1.3 to 8.1.6.
Okay, yes, that was something that we hadn't mentioned yet, and I was about to do that. So,
oh, sorry.
That's okay. No, I'm glad you raised it, but I had it red circled here. So that's great. Are there any questions at all about the budget as presented? I don't see any hands up. Yes, Mayor Love?
Sorry, yes, I just wanted to ask about communications expense because we had budgeted about 15,000, but at this point in the year, we've only spent 1,600. And I would have anticipated that that would have been on budget. I wonder if the treasurer could just let us know, am I missing something there?
No, so I have them tabled. Every month I have to do a journal entry to put those in because it automatically debits from our bank account. It's set up as the lease program. So I thought that I would just make a record of them and then do one journal entry, 3/4 of the way in or whatnot. So we're not off track. It's just, we're close to that amount. It's just, I have to do the journal entry.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know that it's a question of actually that sounds like an efficient process to group them together and do them. I just wanted to be sure that we were on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Love. I just have a question here with Amanda, and the fourth from the bottom, and it's dealing with material and supplies. And I'm just looking at the amount, the actual expenditure, and as in relation to the budget. And is that, I'm just wondering if you could share any light on that. Looks like we budgeted 4,100 and we spent 10.5.
Just give me 1 minute here and I will pull it up. Oh, I believe that was, we had received a grant for some fire training equipment. So laptops and TVs to update the training equipment at the halls. So that's where we put the expenditures there that will then be offset in the revenue side under the fire revenues grants from municipal or provincial government.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Any comments about that or questions? Anyone else? Okay, don't see any. So we can move on, and that I just have dealing with the our issues, of course, with the fire chief and the bylaw officer, dealing with many of the issues that's been raised about Airbnbs, and I'm just wondering. I know he mentioned that there was a report coming. Is there anything else or any other concerns that anyone has at this point in time? I know I've taken a lot of calls in over the summer, and that's probably going to continue. So hopefully this report will be able to shed some light, and we'll be able to move forward and take some action if we need to do something. So, okay, if there's nothing further, then yes, Madam CAO.
Just clarification, the reference you make to the report, are you speaking about the hiring of the compliance officer, or?
Well, there was a discussion a few months ago when we were dealing with an issue where there was some items brought to our attention, And there was suggestion at the time that staff would be putting something together, and we heard today that the chief has something, so maybe that's where it's coming from, but hopefully it will address many of the issues that we've got.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's another report, but there was some suggestion that there would be something coming, so. Okay, thank you. That's the extent of my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I apologize. I must have missed 8.1.2 under fire department activities. I did have a question, and I'm sorry, Chair. I missed that point. I'm wondering if it would be okay if I just ask the question now, if you wouldn't mind.
Please
okay.
do.
Chief, it's about, I noticed in training for the fire department, one of the things that was purchased was electric vehicle fire manuals. So I'm wondering, with all the electric vehicles we're starting to see on the roads, will our firefighters need special extrication training, or will their extrication training need to be updated? Because obviously these electric vehicles are completely different from combustion style vehicles that they're trained for.
Yes, the next year I'm hoping they have a proper course that they can come on site and do with us. They're working on it right now because of that issue, because the batteries have special high voltage lines running through for the batteries. There's a whole new mess of issues we're going to run into that we haven't dealt with before, depending on where you cut, depending on where you separate the car. So that is coming next year. They couldn't do it this year because of the COVID, but they are working on the course, and they will come in-house and do it right here in either Cumbermere or Barry's Bay, wherever we have a vehicle set up, but they will be getting upgraded training. And same with extinguishing vehicle fires is yet to be a new thing. They're starting to learn what it takes. It takes 40 times the amount of water and foam to extinguish a battery or an electric vehicle as opposed to a normal car vehicle. And also the cyanide gas that comes off when you mix water with batteries. There's a whole new spectrum here. That's why the training just came out. I just found these manuals through the Ontario Farmers, so they want to get guidance that way. So there is advanced training coming probably next year. We'll take it into full gear so we're safe for the firefighters. They'll know what everybody's up against.
Okay, great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I assume the manuals are the start of the process, and I'm very glad to hear that they will get some training, because not knowing what you're doing and not having a clear understanding of how to approach that kind of vehicle, someone could get hurt, and I don't want to see that happen. Thank you.
No, we're going to make sure of that.
Thank you, Mayor
Chair.
Love.
That was all.
It's a very good point, and I think we should all be cognizant of, what's happening down the road here, and there's going to be a lot of pressure to be up to speed on, of course, how to deal with these issues. So, thank you. Any other comments from members of council or questions? I know we didn't get into great detail about the numbers of complaints and all of that. It's all within the report, which I'm hoping that everybody has read. But we can see the people in that department are kept extremely busy, and I'm sure that's going to continue for quite some time. So, thank you. So, Mayor Love, I am then finished if there's no further questions on that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. With that, we will move on to Recreation and Community Development Committee. And I notice our internet is fairly slow, so fingers crossed. I'm turning it over to Chair Wilmer. Good luck.
Thank you, Mayor Love. Yes, I'm having all sorts of internet problems, but hopefully it'll be okay throughout this part. Okay, so we have 4 municipal reports. The first report is from Alan Turbinsky, and it's just I don't know whether Alan's with us. Sue?
No, actually, Alan or Raymond weren't able to call in on this call. But if you had any questions about any of the subject matter, it was more meant for just an update of where the programs are at, as we're starting to close off the summer, and the students are finishing their tasks and the programs are finishing up. And we wanted to advise you of some of the workshops that we've registered for recreational staff, as well as RCA TV had sent a thank you letter on behalf of the volunteers and riders of the Renfrew County ATV. And they had provided us with the third-party liability we were waiting for the county, for council. And also to advise that their new positions have been advertised for Common River Facilities Coordinator, Facilities Cleaner for the PJY, and we have extended the ice resurfacer and facility attendant position. We had no applications for that one as of yet. And interviews will probably be towards the end of this week for that.
Okay, and I think it's a great summary, but I think also we're looking for council to provide direction on the situation of renting spring, summer, and fall 2022 in the PJY Center, I assume in the hall.
That is correct. Last year when we did bring a resolution forward, it was on the heels of agreeing to prioritize health over recreation. And we wanted to have the center available in case there was mass vaccination needed. Therefore, we had agreed to not move forward with the rehabilitation of the ice surface. At that time, it was staff direction to not do any rentals for the spring, summer, or fall of 2022. And we are seeking clarification if that is still council's intent. As we're looking at an election year, I'm not sure if there'll be any funding announcements to move forward, and if we're moving forward without that. So basically the resolution is just that council provide direction to staff to either rent for events spring, summer, and fall. We have quite a few renters waiting for a response, or if it's council's intent that we not accept any rentals for spring, summer, and fall of 2022.
All right. Well, I guess my feeling right now, I know the situation, we're in the fourth wave with COVID, but hopefully by the spring, summer, fall, I mean, I haven't heard any news on our grant application or anything like that, but I think to say right now that we're going to continue not renting the facility for that length of time, I think we should relook at that. So I'd like to open that up to council and see what everyone else thinks. I don't see us doing any construction, or it doesn't appear that we've got anything underway right now. And spring's quite a long way away, and hopefully things will be better. I think perhaps it is time to open it up and get a little bit of revenue from that facility. Any thoughts? Mayor Love?
Thank you, Chair. I guess the decision council would have to make is whether or not we are going to do the ice surface next summer. We did have every intention of doing the ice surface this past summer until it was basically recognized that there could be a need to use our arena to do a vaccination center. That did not end up coming to fruition. The health unit was able to successfully use the Legion, and just so council is aware, we are well over 75% vaccinated in Madawaska Valley in the Barry's Bay area. So we are perfectly in line with the province and the country on vaccinations. But at this point, we are looking forward to next year, and our arena is still in dire straits. Our ice plant is still in desperate need of replacement. And so we are looking at that kind of decision. If we were in the throes of doing that renovation, and that was something we were going to budget for next year, then it would, as we discussed before, it would not make sense to rent and have that conflict between construction, dust and debris, and the possibility of that being a factor with weddings. So I guess we really do need to consider this point about, are we going to move forward? Again, we've applied for every grant that has been available that we could spin in any way we could that would get us some money to assist with the repair work on our arena. But so far to date, we haven't been successful. Sue, do you know if there's anything still outstanding in our grant applications? Do we have one still outstanding? Oh, you're muted.
No, we don't have any outstanding right now.
Okay.
So
I guess that's the decision, basically.
I agree with you, Mayor Love, and I think we have to do the arena or have it repaired at some point. And I think we really need to sooner than later. So it is a decision we have to come to as a council, and it's one that looks like we'll have to fund. I think what I was suggesting, it just seems right now, with so many unknowns, almost unwise to be shutting down the facility for that period of time when we don't even know that we will be able to do our construction at that time. So I'm just not sure on this one. I think the number one importance is getting the arena repaired. And I think we have to do that, and we have to find a way to do that. But I'm just wondering about when that's going to happen and the timing on that. So any thoughts? Mayor Love? Mayor Love, you're muted.
I pushed the button and muted myself. I apologize. I went from unmuted to muted. I think one of the situations we find ourselves in is we're in the throes of looking at our organizational structure and ensuring that the kind of project that a major arena renovation is, that we have a staff person in place who would have the abilities to oversee that kind of project. So I'm wondering if perhaps, I know this isn't the answer staff want now because it's so much nicer to have an answer today, but I'm wondering if some assessment of where we're at with the organizational restructuring would assist us, because if we had the right person in the right place to oversee that renovation, I think council would have more confidence that that could continue and that project could be done efficiently. At this point in time, it would really be stretching the existing staff to look after that project and continue with all the other work that they're expected to do. So I'm wondering if it's something that staff could bring us back a little more information. And I know we do have a special council meeting, I think on the 14th, in which we're going to discuss some of those structural HR related issues, and that might give us a bit more clarity as to whether council feels confident that we will be in a position to ensure that that renovation can go forward, because we don't want to lose another year's worth of revenue from rentals if that renovation isn't going to happen next year. So again, I think we're kind of in a position where we don't have all the information we need, and we don't know for certain we'll be in the right place to do it. Thank you.
Sue?
Yes, the org chart will be brought back by Delphi on September 14th. But having said that, with all respect, a project of that size, we would be suggesting that there be an engineering firm that would oversee that project. Staff wouldn't have the knowledge required for that oversight of that magnitude.
Mayor Love?
I agree completely, but there needs to be a staff person who's responsible for that communication, because it's going to affect a lot of things. That process, when we'll be shut down, how long it's going to take. And, you know, council does not want to lose rental revenues. We want the facilities to be open to the public whenever they can be. But I really don't want to also see us get in a position where someone has their big day is this day, and it turns out that it goes bad because of the conflict between the two activities. So I think maybe we'll be in a better position to make the decision after we've slogged through the HR issues and the organizational issues and got a sense of whether we can get that restructuring going well enough in time to ensure that this project could be underway next spring. Because if we feel it's not going to happen, then we may be better off to take a step back and presume that that renovation is not going to happen in 2022, but it should happen in 2023.
Sue.
Hey, if I may, then I would suggest that I bring this back at the regular council meeting. And I'll bring this motion back at that meeting September 17th.
Okay, Councillor Poplinski.
Or 21st.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Can you tell me if we're currently renting the facility to the motor vehicle branch for testing? Are we doing that?
Yes, we are. Yeah, they started again about a month and a half ago.
Okay. So is there a way of getting some of the other rentals in? If the hockey is going to start at the end of the month, or perhaps, then that's another area where we're open for business. So hopefully we'll have the necessary people in place to be able to handle that. But I'm just wondering if we were currently renting it. So that's good. Thank you.
Yes, we are. And Sue, perhaps you can speak on that.
Yes, and just I think it was in one of the updates, there had been some negotiations, and the Recreation Community Development Officer had arranged for a PSW course to be offered in Barry's Bay, and that will run from September into the end of October, and possibly for a successful second term from January into March. So the issue comes with us starting to book in between those, but that's as far commitment as we've made is into March. But we are getting inquiries because, you know, to the credit of these young couples that have been put off because of COVID, some of them had booked the facility in 2020, had to again hear that we couldn't rent in 2021, and are now asking the question for 2022.
All right, Mayor Love.
So Sue, what we're talking about is rentals over the summer, right? We are going to continue to rent. We are expecting to complete the hockey season this winter. Fingers crossed that the facility continues to function well throughout this winter. But we wouldn't even be looking at beginning this renovation probably until April or even May of 2022 if we have the capacity to do it at that point in time. So I think that's where our decision is. It's about those summer rentals, and, you know, wanting to ensure that certainly young people who have waited through COVID and want to have their big day, that their big day can happen. It may not be able to happen in our arena if we're going forward, though. So that's the rentals we're concerned with, those summer rentals, because it would be our expectation that the project would start in the late spring, early summer, and be completed in time for the ice to go in September again. Is that not what we're looking at?
Yes, we presently have inquiries for spring, summer, and fall 2022.
So, Mayor Love?
Sorry, just to follow up. It would be our expectation the ice would be completed by the resurface and the structural stuff inside the ice plant. All that stuff that makes ice would be done by the fall of 2022 if we were to do that project. So is there any reason why we couldn't take rentals for the fall of 2022 through the winter for those that want to have a fall or winter wedding? Because if it doesn't happen in 2022 over the summer, the next council will be looking to do this in 2023 over the summer. So I think this is a decision we can frame by the next council meeting that at least will provide some windows of opportunity for people who want to rent for a wedding, certainly for the lounge at the very least. So can we frame it around that as well?
Sue?
We can. I just want to emphasize with council that those that have been waiting and had postponed are the larger venues that just the upstairs hall would not accommodate.
All right, so we'll bring that one back at the regular meeting of council at the end of the month. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. You know, I think we have a lot to do, and I agree with the mayor. I think we got to get our people in place. There's also interesting thing happening. Just over the weekend, I saw where the price of building material has now gone down after seeing the major spike of 50 or 60% increase. So maybe it's not all bad if we can get all our ducks in place and have a really good financial plan moving forward to do that renovation. So it's not, so that was, I think, a positive thing, and a positive thing for anybody that's going to be doing any building, because it's fairly significant. I think there was a whole lot of panic buying and so on, and now that's leveled off. So that's something that's worthy of note. So, you know, I think we're on the right track, and we'll achieve what we have to do. But I think having the right people in place is very important. Thank you.
Sue?
I just wanted to mention as well, the treasurer had advised that Trillium has just opened. Now the maximum for that is 500,000, but there is still that funding stream as well.
All right, that's great. All right, so we'll bring that back. I believe you said it was the 25th. And I just want to say, I agree with what the mayor said about having our people in place. I know we do have an engineering company that's critical in overseeing a project for this complicated and of that size, but it is also important that we have a staff member who understands the project and is willing to keep it on track in other ways and be on top of the project throughout. So I think it's a good idea to, when we meet on the 14th, to look through our org, and we'll have more information by the end of the month. All right, if there are no other comments, I don't see any. I just wanted to say too, on the report, there's a lot of information in the report about the summer students in particular. And I just wanted to say what a good job I have seen this summer. I mean, I go by the beach often, and the amount of work that they put in to try to keep that beach clean when it's open. The swimming instructors having to move their program to the other beach, and just watching the bronze instruction and the extension, the toy library, the staff at the tennis court, the ones that are watering the plants, the planters have never looked better. So I just want to say there's a lot in this, and I think our summer students, and the train station students too, terrific job by everyone. And I think we should let them know that we're very pleased with the work they've done this summer. So thank you. All right, we have the budget reports. The first one is the library. Sue, I'll go back. Do we need to bring then anything forward on that report in a motion, since we're...
No, thank you for asking, Mr. Chair. I'll just bring it back at the next, it's just an action item for staff to bring it back at the next regular council meeting. And I think I gave the wrong date. I think would be September 21st.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the first budget page is the library. It's quite straightforward. Anyone have any questions on that one? If not, we'll move to...
Chair?
Yes.
Sorry, Chair, just a quick question. We seem to be $80 under in our allocation to the library. That seems a bit odd. I noticed that, did they not need that $80? Typically, they're pretty good about their budget. So I don't know what's happened there.
It's interesting, in the lines it shows them all. Oh no, you're right. It's 80, 119. Yeah. Don't know. Maybe I can answer that.
I'm not sure. I will take a look at that. It might have just been a keystroke error when we were doing the payable. Put in 119 instead of 199, but I'll take a look at that. And if we owe the library that $80, we will definitely give it to them.
Okay, and I'll let them know the good news. All right. Okay, and next page is economic development. Any questions on that page? All right, if not, we'll move on to the following page, which isn't the transfer station, but rather the, I guess our next one is the Christmas, the Mad Valley Christmas Party and Canada Day Grant are the two items on that page. And then the next page is the swim program. Any questions? If not, then the final page is just Parks and Rec General Operating Fund. Any questions there? Okay, if not, we now move to the PJY Center is the next page.
I believe there's a question, Councillor Wilbur.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I had a question regarding, but if I could speak with the treasurer at her convenience and just get some clarification on a couple of items on that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have a question for the meeting right now?
Not at the moment. No, I will do it when it's, you know, how I can meet with the, which I know you've asked in the past, they've asked me to do, so I will do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, and the next page is the Combermere Hall. Are there any questions there? Amanda.
Sorry, just going back to the Parks and Rec, the general operating fund, which I've itemized in other purchases and capital program. There was $1,000 budgeted for MV promotional material. And before Ms. Plubin departed, she had identified that that was part of the whole marketing and communications, where it was budgeted for like logo stuff, pins, pens, like marketing and promotional material for the municipality, because I guess the idea was, you know, to update our footprint out in the community with the marketing plan. So I'm just curious if council would like anything purchased with this 1,000, or should we just leave it until the end of the year and then discuss what they would like done with that $1,000?
I guess I have nothing particular in mind right now, so my thoughts are to leave it.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. All right. So then, where were we? We were at the, I think, the Combermere Hall, and there seems to be no questions there. Then we move on to the railway station, and everything seems normal there. And Lakeshore Tennis. Councillor Schulis.
Yeah, to you, Mr. Chair. Just one question when we're talking about the railway station or the water tower park and so on. I noticed the trees, top of the trees are drying. I mean, I know we had a lot of rain this past summer. No, we did have some dry spot, but I'm just wondering what seems to be the problem there. I think should look into this here, and we'd hate to lose those trees. I don't know if it's because of not watering or what the problem is, but if you look up a lot of the trees, and a lot of people have donated these trees here, and like I said, I'd like to have somebody take a look at that if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
All right, Sue.
Just wanted to add, as far as not watering, we did last year get the watering sprinkler system up and running, so that I can have somebody look at the trees, but that was why we had that repaired, so I can look into that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we were for tennis. Any questions? And then we move on to parks.
I did just an update for the tennis courts, as was budgeted, some tennis court repairs. Canada Courts has been trying to get to the tennis club since last year with COVID. So the last I heard, he had been in touch with Mr. Trubinsky and was supposed to advise us a date that they were going to be sending 2 individuals to do that repair. It was budgeted in the 2021 budget.
Okay, thank you. All right, so if there are no questions, we have no correspondence and information and no unfinished business. So I will conclude my section of the meeting and turn the chair back over to Mayor Love.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Our next section is planning matters and statutory meeting under the Planning Act. Mr. Larbetsky is joining us. Our first item under municipal reports is the building permit statistics. And I wondered if Mr. Larbetsky wanted to speak to how busy they've been.
I am keeping thank you, Mayor Love. I am keeping the boys busy and out of trouble. Hopefully. No, it has been an incredible year. And as I say, the guys are working overtime trying to accommodate everybody, meet the required deadlines for permit issuance as well as inspections. And Earl is running the roads continuously. He has a hard time to do his paperwork because of the volume of inspections, but it's great for the municipality. They talk about it, but they aren't complaining yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Certainly, as these statistics show, we're starting to experience rapid growth in Madawaska Valley, and this year is just the beginning. Our new subdivisions will be coming online next year, and there will be even more demand for building services. With this kind of activity and the increased workload it represents, it may be time to review resources and staffing levels in the building department. I recognize you guys are keeping up now, but you know, there's only so long you can give 120%, and the demands they seem to definitely be increasing. So I think staff might want to give some thought to whether the addition of say a part-time building inspector to assist with the inspections as we get into next summer, that may be something worth considering and brought back to council if there's any needs or need for a vehicle or anything like that for budget time. I'd like some thought given to that because we are certainly very, very busy. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. I just noticed that it was my stomach tells me it's lunchtime, and I'm just wondering if council would consider taking our lunchtime at this point.
Okay, I'm just wondering, could we get through at least the planning stuff, because usually it doesn't take us very long to do that, and then take a lunch break before we get into finance and admin? Would that be okay?
Okay.
I recognize, yes. People are probably getting hungry. So if you don't mind, is there anything further on building permit statistics?
Mayor Love?
Yes.
The only thing I would mention, the $10 million value of the permits that's shown on the report is probably not realistic because people always give conservative amounts on their building permit application. So we're probably looking at figures like between 15 and 18 million once NPAC goes out there and assesses these new structures, because there is a lot going into these properties. It's not just a little cabin. They are becoming more major structures. So just to add that, but as discussed earlier with the treasurer this morning, we're in a catch-22 situation with MPAC. I don't know how the municipality will realize or capitalize on these figures, because if there's a window that is kind of closed before they do the reevaluation again, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Amanda can elaborate a little bit more on that. She was the one who brought it up this morning. Thank you, Amanda.
Sure. So I think MPAC had explained this earlier. The reassessment term, the start date has not been finalized yet. So although we've seen house sales, real estate values increase 2-3 times in our community, you know, the start date for the reassessment could be January 1st of 2019, which is before all of this started. And then in 4 years or 5 years, depending on what the province decides for the reassessment term, you know, the market might reset itself and the values, the real estate values of these properties could come back down. So we could potentially lose out on the assessment value for some of these larger purchases and larger buildings because of the craziness of the real estate market right now. So we're not really sure what's happening yet, and hopefully we'll be able to get some clarity on it anyways, but we could very well miss out on higher assessment values.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Amanda, could you just answer for me, is MPAC keeping up with new assessment, brand new assessment? So new buildings, new additions, are they keeping up with that in terms of our assessment role?
They are, but it's the assessment values are based on, you know, what the neighboring values are. There's a lot of different factors that go into what the new assessment values are. So, you know, someone could build $1 million house right beside me, but my house could be assessed at $296, and so it brings their assessment value down because everybody in the community around them or similar structures to it are at that lower rate, even though the cost of the goods to build that structure are a lot more this year. And it just might be because of a blip in the craziness of the times. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the next month or so and at the roll return in December on how that's going to affect our taxation.
Okay, so what you're saying is we have the growth, but it may not be valued appropriately because
it may not be valued at what the real estate market dictates the value to be at this moment in time.
And that's because it's being based on the last assessment, which was what, 2016?
That is correct.
Okay, all right, so I can see the challenge. Actually, that makes it, you've just made it really clear for me why there's so much concern with that reassessment. So thank you for that. That does make total sense. Okay, any other questions for Amanda or for Silas on the building permit statistics? It's good to see we do have this growth, so we'll accept that as information. We have the budget to actual for building inspections for August 30th, 2021. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Next item is the budget to actual for planning and zoning. Any questions on that? Again, no questions. We'll move to correspondence and information. We have an email from Bruce Howarth of the County of Renfrew dated August 25th, 2021 regarding the official plan amendment. That's OPA 31. County Council has approved OPA 31. So this is good news for us. It is, OPA 31 is significantly more amenable to good growth in Renfrew County than the previous OPA 25 as approved by the province. So it is good news for many people who want to develop their properties. The approval processes that they're going to have to go through have been streamlined to items that are reasonable, and what they can do with their properties is also, there's a little more flexibility. So it's really good to see that we'll get this on board. And I guess, Silas, this is going to be more work for you dealing with OPA 31 now, but hopefully it will go well.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. Any
Yes.
comments from council on this? Okay, so I don't see any. We'll move on to a letter from Eric Belchamber of Rogers Communications Incorporated dated August 30th, 2021 regarding a proposed wireless communications site C8615 on Kubicheski Road and Siberia Road. Sue, is this something you wanted to speak to for council?
This was something that actually Andy Poplinski, the admin assistant for planning and building, had overseen and kind of led the conversation with them as to what they required. And it was suggested that I get a resolution of council to sign the concurrence letter so that they can put their proposals forward.
Okay, did you want to read that resolution, the recommendation?
Yes, through the chair, that council approves the CAO clerk providing a concurrence letter to Rogers Communications Inc. on the proposed wireless communication site at 60 Kubashevsky Road.
Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, great. Any outstanding matters? Okay, not seeing any. So that completes our planning matters and statutory meeting under the Planning Act. Thank you very much. Oh, Sue?
Yes, I just wanted to just include a placeholder when we come back after lunch. We have to go into closed at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Just because that is the only time that Wishart and Law can attend.
Okay, so we'll be going in camera at 2 p.m. All right.
I believe
So,
Silas had a question, I believe.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Mr. Lebetsky.
Thank you, Mayor Love. I just want to point something out that transpired after the council meeting started with respect to bylaw 2021-86. It was drafted based on a draft reference plan. Well, lo and behold, Beth Maiden, the solicitor for Cumbermere Lodge Limited, provided me with the registered plan. So I have amended the bylaw for council consideration, and I have mailed everyone the amended version. So it is available for you to review. And as I say, I've just inserted the reference plan number throughout the bylaw. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So if council, while we're taking our lunch, if you could get your email and have a look at that, because I assume we're going to proceed with the bylaw. There's no reason not to, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, let's take some lunch. We could all use it. Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by someone second lunch. Councillor Schulist. All those in favor?